Have you ever noticed that the more you improve your life, the stranger some people begin to act around you? They smile, support you, and congratulate you, but something feels different. The truth is, not everyone who admires you simply wants to learn from you. Some people secretly wish they had your confidence, your success, or your lifestyle. Psychology shows that hidden envy often reveals itself through small behaviors most people ignore. In today's video, we'll uncover 8 surprising signs that someone secretly wants to be you. Watch closely, because by the end, you may see certain people in your life very differently. 1. They copy you, then pretend. It was their idea. The first sign is surprisingly common. Someone secretly wanting to be you often starts copying your habits, your style, your opinions, or even the way you speak. At first, it feels like coincidence. Maybe they suddenly buy clothes similar to yours. Maybe they start using phrases you've always used. Maybe they develop the same interests shortly after you do. There's nothing wrong with inspiring people. Everyone learns by observing others. But the difference is what happens next. Instead of admitting they admired your idea, they act as if they discovered it on their own. If someone points out the similarity, they quickly change the subject or deny noticing your influence at all. Psychologists call this unconscious identification. When someone strongly admires another person but struggles with their own identity, they begin borrowing pieces of that person's life. It temporarily makes them feel more confident. The problem is that imitation rarely stops with appearance. Soon, they begin copying your goals, your routines, your conversations, and even your personality. At the same time, they'll often minimize your originality. They'll say things like, "Lots of people do that," or "I was already thinking about it." They don't want others to connect their new behavior back to you. Deep down, this isn't really about fashion or hobbies. It's about identity. They're searching for confidence by wearing someone else's version of success, instead of building their own. If you've ever wondered why someone suddenly becomes your reflection while refusing to admit it, this may be the first clue that they secretly wish they had the life, confidence, or mindset they see in you. And surprisingly, the next sign is even harder to recognize because it hides behind compliments instead of imitation. 2. They celebrate you, but it never feels genuine. The second sign is fake celebration. Every time something good happens to you, they're quick to say, "I'm so happy for you." But their energy tells a different story. Their smile looks forced. Their excitement disappears after a few seconds. Then the conversation somehow shifts back to them. Psychologists call this emotional incongruence. Their words and emotions don't match because they're fighting an internal comparison. They want to support you, but your success reminds them of what they haven't achieved. You'll notice they rarely ask follow-up questions about your accomplishments. Instead of showing real curiosity, they quickly change the topic or mention someone else who's doing even better. It's a subtle way of reducing the impact of your achievement. What's interesting is that they're usually much more enthusiastic when you talk about your struggles. They become more engaged, more comforting, and more involved. Why? Because your struggles restore emotional balance. They no longer feel behind. This doesn't mean every quiet reaction is jealousy. Some people simply aren't expressive. But when someone consistently downplays your wins while becoming energized by your setbacks, pay attention. Their emotions are revealing what their words are trying to hide. The people who genuinely care about you feel inspired by your growth. The people who secretly wish they were you often feel threatened by it. 3. They constantly compare their life to yours. Comparison is natural. Everyone does it occasionally. But someone who secretly wants your life turns comparison into a daily habit. No matter what you talk about, they somehow compare it to themselves. If you mention a promotion, they immediately discuss their own career. If you buy something new, they explain why they deserve it too. If you're improving your health, they suddenly start talking about their own fitness journey. It almost feels like everything becomes a competition without you ever agreeing to compete. Psychology explains this through social comparison theory. People measure their self-worth by comparing themselves with others, especially those close to them. When someone believes you're living the life they want, they begin using you as their personal measuring stick. The result is exhausting conversations. Instead of celebrating each other's progress, every discussion becomes a silent contest over who's doing better. Sometimes they'll even ask very personal questions, not because they're curious, but because they're collecting information. They want to know how much money you make, how successful you are, how people treat you, or what opportunities you have. They're trying to solve the mystery of why you're moving forward while they feel stuck. Healthy people compare themselves with who they were yesterday. Unhealthy comparison focuses only on where someone else is today. If every conversation feels like an invisible scoreboard, you may not be talking to a supporter. You may be talking to someone who secretly wishes they were living your life. 4. They quietly compete with everything you do. The fourth sign is constant competition. You mention reading a book. They've read 3. You start going to the gym. They suddenly train harder. You share a new goal. They immediately announce a bigger one. At first, this can seem motivating, but over time, a pattern appears. They rarely celebrate your journey without trying to outdo it. The strange thing is that you never asked for a competition. Yet somehow, every achievement becomes a race. Psychologists believe this happens when someone's identity depends on feeling superior. If another person's progress threatens that identity, they respond by trying to reclaim the spotlight. Instead of focusing on their own path, they become obsessed with keeping pace with yours. Ironically, this behavior often slows them down. Real growth comes from consistency, not comparison. While you're focused on improving yourself, they're focused on matching every move you make. Eventually, they stop making decisions based on what they truly want. Instead, they make decisions based on what you're doing. That's one of the clearest signs that admiration has quietly turned into envy. And the next signs become even more revealing because they no longer involve competition. They involve control, criticism, and hidden resentment. 5. They criticize the things that make you unique. The fifth sign is subtle criticism. Instead of openly attacking you, they quietly question the very qualities that make you stand out. Maybe you're confident, and they call you too full of yourself. Maybe you're disciplined, and they say you're obsessed with work. Maybe you're calm under pressure, and they joke that you don't care about anything. Notice what's happening. They aren't criticizing your flaws. They're criticizing your strengths. Psychologists explain this as a defense mechanism. When someone feels insecure, it's easier to convince themselves that your strengths aren't valuable than to admit they wish they had them. By making your best qualities seem negative, they temporarily protect their own self-esteem. Over time, these comments become more frequent. They disguise them as jokes, honest opinions, or friendly advice. If you react, they quickly say, "I was only kidding." But repeated jokes often reveal repeated thoughts. The people who genuinely support you encourage your growth. They don't try to make you feel guilty for becoming stronger, wiser, or more successful. When someone constantly finds a reason to criticize the qualities that help you succeed, ask yourself whether they're offering guidance or trying to make themselves feel better by bringing you down. 6. They watch everything you do. The sixth sign is quiet observation. They seem to know what's happening in your life, even when you haven't told them. They notice your routines, your achievements, your social media posts, and even the small changes you barely mention. Sometimes they're among the first to view your stories, yet they rarely interact. Other times, they remember tiny details from conversations you had months ago. This isn't always unhealthy. Friends naturally pay attention to each other. The difference is intensity. Someone who secretly wants your life often studies you because they're trying to understand your success. They want to know what you're doing differently, what opportunities you have, and why people respond positively to you. Instead of focusing on building their own future, they become fascinated by yours. Psychology suggests that people often observe those they admire or envy far more closely than they realize. The danger is that constant observation can slowly turn into silent resentment. The more they watch your progress without creating their own, the more frustrated they become. Pay attention to people who know everything about your life but reveal very little about theirs. Sometimes they're not simply interested in you. They're comparing themselves to you every step of the way. 7. They feel better when you fail. The seventh sign is uncomfortable but powerful. When something goes wrong in your life, they suddenly become more relaxed. They seem unusually supportive, yet there's a strange sense of relief in their attitude. Maybe they say all the right things, but for the first time in a long while, they seem completely comfortable around you. Why? Because your setback temporarily removes the comparison. Psychologists call this downward comparison. When someone else struggles, insecure people often feel better about themselves without changing anything in their own lives. This doesn't mean they wanted you to fail from the beginning, but your failure eases the pressure they feel when comparing themselves to you. On the other hand, when you succeed again, the distance between your lives becomes visible once more, and so does their discomfort. The people who truly care about you never feel relieved by your setbacks. They want to see you recover, grow, and win again because your success doesn't threaten their identity. If someone's energy improves only when your life becomes harder, that's one of the strongest signs that their admiration has quietly become envy. 8. They try to become the main character in every conversation. The final sign is the constant need to shift attention back to themselves. Whenever you share a meaningful story, they immediately respond with one that's bigger, harder, or more impressive. If you accomplish something important, they quickly mention their own achievement. If people compliment you, they interrupt with something that redirects the spotlight. This isn't confidence. It's insecurity searching for validation. People who secretly want your life often struggle to let others shine because every moment of recognition for you feels like less recognition for them. Confident people don't compete for attention. They can celebrate someone else's success without feeling invisible. The more secure someone is, the easier it becomes for them to applaud others. But someone trapped in comparison feels the need to prove themselves constantly. Every conversation becomes another opportunity to remind everyone and themselves that they matter too. In the end, remember this: people who secretly want to be you aren't always your enemies. Many are simply fighting battles with their own confidence and identity. That doesn't excuse unhealthy behavior, but it helps explain it. The best response isn't arrogance or revenge, it's awareness. Protect your peace, stay humble, and keep growing without seeking anyone's approval. Because the people who are truly confident don't waste time wishing they were someone else. They spend their energy becoming the best version of themselves. And that's exactly what you should do. As you move forward, remember this: your greatest strength isn't making people envy you. It's becoming the best version of yourself. Some people will celebrate your growth, while others will secretly compare their lives to yours. That's something you can't control. What you can control is your mindset, your character, and your consistency. Stay humble, protect your peace, and never shrink yourself just to make others comfortable. If this video opened your eyes, leave a comment sharing which sign surprised you the most. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for more psychology-based insights that help you understand people and yourself better.